everyone, and welcome back for part 2 of my favorite book covers series. Today I am going to be doing favorite book covers biblical fiction edition. I am so excited about this video, and y'all, it's gonna be a long one, so make sure you have snacks prepared because we might be here for a while. All right, let's dive into it. I've already explained kind of what this series is, and it was inspired by Alysha from For the Love of Christian Fiction. Go follow her. I'm sharing my favorite book covers from each genre, if that makes sense. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see all my other favorite book covers. So the first one that I'm going to be sharing today is Land of Silence by Tessa Afshar. And all the colors in this one. I just love the red. Red is very striking. It's very appealing. Also, the spine is very simplistic and pretty. And if you know me, I love a good spine. I feel like we don't pay enough attention to spines, but let's be honest, on our shelves, the spines are what we're going to be seeing the most of anyways. So shouldn't we be spending the most amount of time designing good spines? That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, this one is beautiful. It's about, I don't know if you know the story of the woman in the gospel who had like a bleeding sickness, and she was constantly bleeding until she touched the hem of Jesus's garment, and then she was healed. It's like her kind of life story, or what her life might have been like. But I just think this cover is very striking. It's very bold, and I think it kind of really clues you in to what the book is about, in my opinion. I didn't know what the book was about. Well, the first time I saw it, I did look at it and I was like, oh, biblical fiction book. It doesn't, this is going to sound silly, but a lot of biblical fiction books, if they're about a specific biblical character, the title will be the name of that biblical figure. For instance, Esther or Sarah or Rebecca. It's a thing in biblical fiction. But I was like, Land of Silence, so that means nothing to me. And she's wearing red. Red reminds me of blood. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if that's about the woman with the bleeding sickness who had faith and touched Jesus' garment. And it is, and it's amazing. I have a review for this book on my blog. Be sure to go and check it out. Blog link in the description box below. This is a great book, and I just think the cover is very striking. The cover is very striking, it's very pretty, and I really like it. So that's the first one done. Speaking of books with biblical figure names as titles, the next book I have is Esther, Royal Beauty by Angela Hunt. And this one, I just love all the jewels, all the sparkles. This entire series has very pretty, glittery, glamorous book covers. Obviously, it is the Dangerous Beauty series. And I have mixed feelings about this book. It's definitely an interesting one and kind of a difficult read when you think about the reality of the life of Esther and how like scary and frightening and kind of stressful and intense it would have been to be Esther at that time period and at that place for such a time as this. But the cover is very stunning and again very glittery and golden and pretty. So that's another one that I really like. Oh, and that book is about Esther from the Bible. I don't know if you missed that. If you did, I don't know how you missed that. The next book, books actually, because there's two, because they're a part of a series, so I'll just share them both at the same time. But A Light on the Hill and Shelter of the Most High by Connelly Cassette. I love these book covers, especially next to each other. I like how just centered everything is. I don't know if that's like a silly thing to say that I like, but I like how, you know, the figures are in the center, the words are in the center. It's just very pleasing to my OCD eye. Also the colors and just the clothes and how simplistic it is. Again, I mentioned this in my last video. They're both kind of looking off to the side so you can't get a full picture of their face. And it's very interesting, and it makes me want to read more and learn more about them. And I think these are very stunning, so I'll give you a little close up. But yeah, these are the two books by Connelly Cassette. Definitely go and check her out. This is the first two books in her second series, Cities of Refuge. I've talked about her books a lot on my channel, but if you want to read these books, you really need to make sure that you read her entire Out from Egypt series, or at least the third book in her Out from Egypt series before you start in on this series, because otherwise you will feel really lost when you're reading both of these books, in my personal opinion. But yeah, you have enough time too, because the third book in this Cities of Refuge series, the follow-up to her Out from Egypt series, is coming out soon, so you have time to make sure that you read all of her Out from Egypt series and these two books before we get to the next book in this series. So make sure you do that. They're highly recommended. Her books are amazing. I cannot say anything about them enough. The next book that I have for you guys is an advanced reader's copy, or an ARC copy, because I don't actually have the real copy yet, because this book was sent to me by Waterbrook, so thank you to Waterbrook for sending me this, because they know I'm such a huge fan of this author. But it is Of Fire and Lions by Misu Andrews. I'm so happy! I love that I can hold this book in my hands. Like, I just can't even believe I have reached that stage of life where I get to hold a book in my hands that, like, nobody else has held. Well, I mean, the author has, and the other people that got sent copies have, but you know what I mean. This book is so striking. It's about, I believe, I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry. I know that's like such a shameful thing, but it's basically from the perspective of his wife, but it's the story of Daniel as far as I've understood it so far. If you're interested in this book, or you're interested in biblical fiction, or how someone can write biblical fiction when not all the facts in the fiction are facts, go ahead and watch my video. I actually have a video on that subject called How to Read Biblical Fiction, or How I Read Biblical Fiction, because I go into great detail there about how I read biblical fiction and make sure that I'm, reading it and also learning more about God, but not letting the fiction necessarily sway me in one way or another, if that makes sense. But I can't wait to read this book. I just think it's so captivating. The lion, the woman on the cover, and the red, just again, red is a captivating color. The next book, this had to be in there somewhere, is Counted with the Stars by Connelly Cassette. And I just love how, I'll hold it up close and see if you can see, but I just love how, let's see if it focuses. I just love how the desert stars fade into the main character's cloak in this cover. I think that is such a cool image. It's so telling. It really works with the title. And this was the first book I ever read of Connelly Cassette, and it's one of the first Christian fiction, biblical fiction books I ever read. One of the first Christian fiction books I ever read, literally, and it captivated me. I've been hooked on her writing style ever since. So go and give that a whirl. The next book is a book that I recently reviewed on my blog. Again, link in the description. But that is Jerusalem's Queen by Angela Hunt. This is another Angela Hunt book. This is from her Silent Years series, which is a biblical fiction series that takes place between the last part of the Old Testament and the first part of the New Testament, because if you don't know, there were several hundred years that happened in between those two things. And she writes about what might have happened during that time in her series, The Silent Years, of course, accompanied by research and a lot of interesting facts. Angela Hunt's writing style is a very unique one, in my opinion. And I don't really know of any other authors that I could compare her writing to, but her writing is very good, especially in this book. I think it really shined. I listened to the audiobook for this book, and it was amazing as well. But yeah, definitely go and check out her Silent Years series. You don't have to read them in order, but I think it might be helpful to help you understand the context. But yeah, I just think this cover is really stunning. I think the figure portrayed on it is very interesting. She looks very regal. Love the colors, love how kind of pastel and faded and muted the colors are in that. So that's a great book cover. The next one I have featured heavily on my Instagram in the past, and that is Keepers of the Covenant by Lynn Austin, which is the second book in her Restoration Chronicles series. This is one of my favorite biblical fiction series of all time. You've heard me say that before. I just love the silhouette. The silhouette is amazing. All her book covers in this series have silhouettes on the covers with sunsets and sunrises, and this one is my favorite because of how bright red and orange it is. The next two books, this one has post-it notes in it. The next two books are also a part of a kind of series, but it is A Lineage of Grace and Sons of Encouragement by Francine Rivers. I think both of these are just so beautiful. Again, I have like a thing for sunsets. I don't know if you can tell, but that is what they look like, kind of. Sorry, I'm having a hard time holding them. But I love how the figures on the front are facing away from you. You can't really see them. I love the lighting, and I just love how beautiful they are. They're just gorgeous. But these are two compilations, I think is what you would call them, of short stories about women in the Bible and men in the Bible. This one features Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, and Mary. And this one features Aaron, Caleb, Jonathan, Amos, and Silas. And I've read both of these. I love them both. And what I also love most about this series is that there are devotionals at the end of each story that help you kind of draw the comparison between the scripture and the short story that you just read. But devotionals following their real life, what you can learn from them, discussion questions, reading the scriptures and things, and I love that. So these are great books. I really recommend them. I can't recommend them enough. The next book that I have for you is Thief of Corinth by Tessa Afshar. I started this book and then I got really busy with another project and I never got to finish it. So bummer. But I plan to finish it sometime soon. It looks so amazing and I just love all the pretty purple and blue tones on it. I really like when book covers have a color scheme. Like a very nice refined color scheme. And again, the spines in her books are always like a solid color and I think that looks really nice on a bookshelf. So again, publishers should pay more attention to spines because the spine is what you're going to see the most once the book is on your shelf. But yeah, this book sounds so amazing. It's about a woman in Corinth who I think experiences the teachings of Paul and it kind of changes her life. I've never read a biblical fiction book. I've read one biblical fiction book that takes place after Jesus's time on earth. And in that kind of period during Acts and all of that. But I really want to read this one because I only just discovered Tessa and she's so good of an author. I love her work. And the next two books I'm going to share are also the last two books I'm going to share from biblical fiction, but they are a part of a series. They've been really well loved. There are a lot of creases in these covers and tears in the pages and stains on the side. But that's because I used to take these books with me everywhere and I read them over and over and over and over again until like pages were almost falling out. But that is The Pharaoh's Daughter by Misu Andrews and Miriam by Misu Andrews, part of her Treasures of the Nile series. Love them so much. Here, I'll hold them up for you. You can kind of see them. So that's what they look like. I just think they're so beautiful, particularly The Pharaoh's Daughter, because I love just the way she's carrying herself. And I love how the Nile is kind of, it fades into the bottom of her dress and the bottom of her form. And I love Miriam because it is like more of an illustration style. And I like how you see Miriam at the top and you see Moses at the bottom parting the Red Sea. They're both two very different style covers, in my opinion, for being a part of the same series. One is more of an illustration and the other is more of a photographic kind of cover, but I love them both. Probably love this one more, to be honest, but I love them both to pieces. These are amazing book covers. So those are all of my favorite book covers from biblical fiction. I hope you enjoyed seeing those. If you want to see more, don't forget I posted my favorite historical book covers last, so you can go back onto my channel and see that, but make sure you subscribe if you want to see my favorite contemporary book covers, which will be coming to you very shortly. I am Jenna Van Mourik, an inspired writer and an inspirational fiction reader who reads, writes, and lives for Jesus. I post new book reviews to my blog every Monday as often as I can. I try really hard, but sometimes I fail. I'm only human. Make sure you're subscribed to that. The link is in my description below, or you can type into your browser www.jennavanmourik.com and make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a new review. And of course, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Jenna Van Mourik. I post daily over there pictures of books and what I'm reading and what I'm doing with my life. I think that's all I have for you today. Make sure you go and check out the other videos, and thank you so much for stopping by today. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I love you all. Thank you so much. Bye!